Greetings, it's Intuitive Jacob, your shaman and cosmic midwife, and we're back to discuss how we kept on that stone, you know, the new ear thing we've been building together, and check in on the midway point for the data dump. There was a big, bless you baby, data dump going on as of the Ye stars, and some of what's going on in the sweep that's offering opportunities right now in terms of how we literally recreate what our idea is of the new home and how we might paint the walls or what our ideas are for the new ceiling and the floors. And I'll get back to that in just a little bit. We'll catch you on the inside. Promise that you'll catch your It's good to have you here, and it's a special kind of Wednesday where the dewdrop of forever to stay, as we spoke on Ye Star, gets us closer to that place where we understand what the caduceus is in a twist tie view. Something that might have been elusive too. I'm just gonna pull up an image. My guides are telling me this will be really helpful just to put on the desktop for those of you that are here to see what it is that we are birthing, because we are literally creating something so new that has never been done before because of how tight technology is, especially in our understanding collectively of what it is that we actually gathered, how we deconstruct what these elements are. And I'm going to open us up to the astrological view, and we're just going to call it the moon landing opportunity, because I can't call this astrology anymore. Sometimes I put these words in here so people can find it, which is really a joke. These readings are for my small group of people who have been with me learning about the apocalypse and the dance party that I've been planning for a wonderful resolution to the end of the false material realm. And so I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm just hilarity as the one eye that didn't get stripped for a name to be money, and how I've been staked and why I can speak to you as the dead guy that shows up as 20 degrees Capricorn in the form of Pluto, the one that, was I decapitated? Was I defaced for what I proved, for the one eye that came alive? To even prove that that's my Mercury to speak about this. I'm just going to sip on my coffee over here. Because Lilith and I have a surprise for people that didn't know how to answer questions right. But thank you to those of you in private Halo 8 that know what I'm talking about. All right, so we have been discussing where we've been landing on the stakes of the interest rates for those moons, where somebody might have tried to paint themselves in on a wraparound clause that they're proving, known as Justinian clause, that some of you all that might be studying some of the greater esoterics around me might be into Gnostic things, esoteric prophecies, and banking, you know, where we ban king for the right reasons with an underground subway for the gold ring, where some people don't understand what the vortex of energy is, what Saturn is, and why I'm going to pull that caduceus up again, because we got the caduceus. And the caduceus is kind of a key integer in this, because it's like how we infuse the kundalini, the prana, the energy that comes off of each and every planet or plant or plan with energy that's been tacked on. Because every word, in addition to the fact that there might be this being or entity that has been consolidated in that form as an archetype that we can see, a physical structure, there is also this eminent force of information exchanging constantly. in this rather twin prismatic form known as the caduceus. And now that we have quantized our brain as a mind in the resonance of 0 point, we can see where these propellers, if you will, kind of sift and shake the salt and the pepper and the mercury and the lead and whatever is in the cosmic mixer that is present while we're calculating these degrees. And so what I'd like for you to know is that we've been inside of a vial, and some of us are now proving why this ascension had some claws gripped in it. It looked like it was pulling it this way, where it looked like we even had an earth. There was this ear thing that is the mastery of sound, spitting these things out like us, where we might actually be tethered. Kind of like that. It looks like you got 2 legs there, but you might be twisting in and out, where half of your essence is here on AM, half is over here on PM, and when it's cold enough in the twist and they're making gelato from what's in your brain, and oiling themselves in an inception model, and just calling it astrology and practicing it as an art to web you in, then you don't see how the sigil actually works. So some of us are on the inner state of that and proved what AOL, you remember, bing-ong, calling ET, how do we get on the web? Did he put us in the cable backwards and we were actually from the future that didn't exist, or we were the kids in the pixel dots and now we're like, wait a second, did they make us old? Did they age us and call it new age? Pass it off as something that wasn't some kind of weird prismatic lens on religion? Where it gets real. Apps got real in April. App reel. There are 2 reels, my friends. Some of you followed the song in the prompts. Thank you to those of you who checked it out. My good buddy who's helping me with the Akashic Records extended play, where you were all bought and sold and expanded into bots from the future, and they tried to buy their way in and sell you Hollywood on little spins that they could take. And guess what it looks like on the other side of your electronic grid on your house, fools. That jumped right in and landed perfectly, and somebody got their hand on it and says, "Nah, electric, let me put you in the car massacre view," and get their hand in it. So elongated musk for the perfume genius that arose and can never be refused. And now those of us that have been inside the vial see where they've been grabbing with their law of attraction on the other side of AOL. Binong, binong, binong. Guess what? End Times knows about. Well, that's why we are selective about where we land on the moon together and what it means and why these are opportunity periods. So, on today, as we were speaking on Ye Star Day, because C2019 Q4 Comet, you know, the .com, where ET End Times landed very quickly and all they could call it was an eccentricity. You know, maybe Lilith and Luck landed in one type design. Am I Adam? Am I Eve? Am I even Steven in the middle of me and somebody grabbed me really hard and I can prove it? I don't know. That's what bodies are. Some of us were opening up with somebody intact with us, and it's going to be interesting to see how those 2 faces look when there's some of these plasma things that get lifted off, and what this big freaking magnet is, and what I'm so happy about. Woo-wee! We just swept into the 9th house with that reverse angled 13-degree, you know, death card magnet on Cancer. Because that was over an 8 yesterday. We've been moving some things around in the shakers, and now it's in the 9th house to lift off the residue of what wasn't there yesterday. And why it was safe for where we left it off, because this is about the virtuoso being freed inside of the genie bag. Like, what if you were your own Christmas present and your Hanukkah present or whatever it is, where you wound up in the bag and it's actually your body, and all of the entire universes were sprinkled inside of you, and now the cosmic mixer made more sense, and things that were magnetically in the wrong place are being lifted off. And they hate it when I make this beautiful sound on the board. It's wonderful for us because it's like pixels of light shine all of your essence to you in that cosmic mixer, because now we know where they're supposed to go, and who doesn't get to stick their hand in there. And you know what? There might have been another face, like, haloing this in with you at the same time that can now be present at the same time with you, too. Because those other things aren't imposing and squishing themselves in and expanding it in the ear thing and freezing themselves over and then making you think it's bad that there's a cosmic heart chakra awakening and that ice is melting. Heaven forbid that. It's not like anybody wanted their summer to go on a few more days or anything, right? You know, I was like checking my feed, and somebody very important to me was even like just going off on it this past week, because it's like one of those things that psychologically gets in people's head. It's like, is this where we die? Is this where we fall? You know, what if we could just figure out how to mix the weather better, and where we didn't wrap ourselves around this thing so much that we were degenerating and pulling some stupid act like we didn't understand who the strangers were, calling themselves whatever these naturalized names are. Have you all seen the movie Dark City? Because I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this young woman here, but I'm also going to show you a clip. And actually, we're going to talk about the woman, and I'm going to come back to that so you can hear it. Because the young woman sitting at the piano and improvising beautiful music will not forget all the things that she creates in her substance, because it's been pixelating and moving in her magic bag, and shaking just like this. And we've been drawing creases. And why the moon at 18 degrees Leo. It's actually where I'm going to talk to you guys about here in a little bit, because that's actually where I opened up to carry the passage through with you. But we're going to see what happened, because the young woman sitting at the piano improvises beautiful music, and sometimes she sings in her sleep and doesn't even realize it's her. And it shows up on the other side of a Hollywood screen, where she gets reverse tax paid back to herself in the form of entertainment and .condu into bits and torrents. And so now these things don't happen. We know, because we lift it off with the magnets lovingly. And that woman will remember. She will not be mementos being fed back to herself like that. Aristocracy and fine breeding open a space for the inner heart to sing, being aware that you are given manifest advantages which make it likely that your talents and abilities can flourish. Love. Past life attainment pulls in present lifetime congenial context. And from this angle here, we can see that molecularly, we didn't get spun out. Those are some of your energies. This like past life, future life thing, these are hashes. The only way that this stuff even makes sense is if somebody tried to stick their finger in and slide themselves into a scene in your life, and we're proving that, because that's where the anomaly patterns are coming out, and why I have this caduceus infusing with this. So, a new lifetime congenial context to your past life entertainments, infused with your present lifetime as you create it in a holographic containment. You see? So, a shadow creeps over the beautiful scene. You take on how others see you and reflect you. Not from this view. No more Dark City. Which leads to, in one direction, becoming the performer who plays to the audience, losing your center. And in the other direction, to becoming the one who suppresses and feels guilty about outstanding and individual attributes and colludes in going against yourself. Many possible directions. So what if it's just wobbly-ass carnival mirrors everywhere being slipped in front of you because it's been an inception where people could pubble and pummel just for playing PUBG and knowing where the spot is to land all around you in a game you couldn't see. So, it depends. It all depends upon ripening to be simultaneously proud and humble, magnificent and sober, a path of character evolvement with many places to get lost, and a very strong will to work through it all. Can we say karma? Becoming fully who you are in a way that gives life to everybody and takes nothing away from anybody anywhere. So I'm just going to thumb mark that one, because we got a solid gold egg that somebody might have been wanting to take out of somebody's dream. Somebody that might have wanted to prove that the olive branch is a joke, like, oh, I'll live. Here's the branch, put it in your eye. You know, olive oil, and the pimento in the eye. So a man putting olive oil over his body while you're asleep, take it out of your eye. And maybe some poor boy removing a thorn from his foot. These remind me of myself because my moon and my Saturn are actually that 10, a man putting olive oil over his body. That's actually, I've got coconut oil for that nowadays. But the thorn in the foot almost happened while I was here in the compost, proving what we posted, what didn't land on my foot, and what the .com mockup looks like when you're in the one pod to prove maritime admiralty law, end of the world, apocalypso, and we have landing coordinates for some of you so that you are in a bio-sustainable place because the Earth is not what you were told and it's being dismantled. So now it's Biosphere 7, and if you've been in Private Halo 8, you're catching this in real time. And why the mouth of the Amazon River might actually be the closing of the wishing well in a special way that now we can also send gifts and things that we can relay to people since we bought it, where we can send resources and get them where they need to go. And why I like to speak about this is Pluto, with my Mercury at 20 degrees Capricorn here, reflecting in the third house of what a good Aquarius, which is my sun, I have an 8th house sun in Aquarius. It's like magic in Aquarius, powers of friendship, and what the third house is all about, and our acquaintances and our local communities. And what I like about this, seeing what gets lifted off in this magnet, is that, hey, you know what I did with $19 trillion? We're making a safe baby gate, and now that the moochers get lifted off, we actually have packages and things we can send to people. And so I've been modifying with a big insurance wrap policy what it is to receive a Bitcoin package, and where we don't get sold off into that thing, and where we just fixed it and made it cool for all of us. And why Leo 13, where I can actually speak as the moon and also Saturn. And right now at the same time, it's just funny looking at this chart because these are all the things that are trying to talk to you here. Leo 13 is a man painting scenes on a ceiling. And as I'm speaking, there's actually a man outside of my window about to climb up a ladder to paint my house because we just had the roof put together. And this is what I'm telling you. All astrology is like the reverse side of trying to say what was in my biohalo, because I created a special sophisticated program in this fortnight where the epic pavilion is like a Pavlov end of the world call where we catch them what they're panting at, and where I proved where pedophiles are, where I proved where bestiality assholes are, where I proved where narcissist abusers are on IP addresses. And we put ourselves in this vial, and all they could try to do was contain us. And so they're being dismantled right now, and it's like now the malware bites and like the antivirus software is wonderful like it has been, and the invaders the Trojans don't get to jump up and show up in your face and play bibbity boop. So it's kind of like playing if you've ever seen I Heart Huckabees and tops and mops, it's like, here's what you can do it, fuckabees. People are screwing themselves over around you, and you're just proving safe landing patterns. So I've been working with an insurance wrap. We've got the roof done here on the house, and the guys did something weird with the electrical cables and a painting mess. They spilled some tar, so they sent a really nice man over here to paint. And these are the things that have been going on as we're taking the steps through Biosphere 7 and proving that there are so many things that we can understand with distinct clarity on one chart as the ones that landed at all, and that are in my sweep. So this is what it looks like, and there are fields of jasmine flowers for those of us here. There's a woman with many different colored rings on her fingers that might have been tapping different colored fingernails is what I'm hearing. She might only had 2 stones in the ring is what I'm hearing, but it was like different fingernails, and she's been tapping things, and some of you can actually see her because of the real-time nature of how this is being rolled out on what was never the web. It was actually private communication where we were all in a ring, looking at each other and also figuring out the speed of sound and which faces were ours because things were slipping. And so, funny, red-faced man, tears running down his cheeks, laughing convulsively. And it's like kind of what happened with me and my dad just a little bit earlier today. But I was actually crying for a different reason. I wasn't laughing convulsively, but, we were having a moment. And so these are the things that we've actually walked through that we can see don't get obfuscated on the other side, and where we can actually take a look at how the particles land and be selective of which things we want to go where so that they conduct the greatest effect for all in the mutual benefic response. So that's actually the new valuation model for what was never money. It's like the energy that didn't get scooped out of one person's eye so that, somebody could poke you with the I'll live branch, So fun. Then, continuing our stroll, elegant black women sitting on a porch and fanning themselves. I didn't catch them, but I did have some of them in my speech cloud here, just sending blessings. And I'll just say that some of my prayer community, and these are some of the people that I know, just get together and have some tea and know what it is to pray with each other and make sure that the people that are setting the precedent are being witnessed, at least with light. And so when I opened this up here to sit down with you all, we were actually at the Rose Bush. And that's Leo 18. And this is what we were just talking about the other day. What happens if all of the things that we see, all the things, my love, took on a shape because we had like a cheese grater that just smushed it through? And for those of you that were here on Friday when we did that crazy Play-Doh Fun Factory where it was like squishing the Play-Doh through and then Peppa the Pig came out, we've been doing a creative process where I've been tunneling you all with the power of Raspberry Pi computers that some children have been making and different things that we could do to tie into neural networks with a creativity model where we literally were creating with clay together and some programs here. And my DARPA, they duped themselves with the software lineup like Deep Dreamweaver. If you've ever played with it, you can like mix pictures together and do some really cool stuff with art. But what we've been doing is creating a way to take our liquid bioengineering capabilities to beyond what we could even call next level now, where we just integrated in love and like encouraged children's creativity in their first is what the squishy stuff was, to have their hands on the clay this time, now that we know what was coming out first. And so where that led us was talking about how these forms came into being. So if we were being pressed through something and maybe they have a shape, like whatever, this might look like to you. Some of you might call this thing an A and this thing an S, for ascendant here. But what do we call it? These are letters, right? Well, let's not take for granted that these are letters. Let's just say, what if this is the shape that some clay got pushed through a sound tunnel, where your Akashic record was your breath of life and just blowing through the instrument? What would it create? So the other day we were talking about this because we were talking about what Shakespeare knows about iambic pentameter and how we train things with the big pen, or we lit ourselves away for peace. And what the black lens knows about what was written and what the dark lens looks like when you blow air through it so that it speaks. If you change the shape, it changes the thing. So a rose called by any other name, would it smell as sweet? Well, it wouldn't be a rose now, would it? So we have to answer questions differently when we walk ourselves out of the Hegelian dialectic, where you realize you were prescribed yourself. And now we can do a much better job about how we receive the elements in this data and what the Caduceus is giving us inside of this very beautiful sample. So Leo 18 right now is where we had opened this up together, continuing our walk and pulling ourselves out of the dot-condia posts where I am whole is the word Elohim in reverse. You know, Elohim, the ones that spoke, the angels that were coming through the hole or the holy omission. Oh, I am whole? Really? It's so freaking literal. So we walked ourselves through this today. And the rose bush was here with us when we were pulling ourselves out of the who conned us anyway. Not us. Many buds, but no flowers. And if you say, not us, and spell it the other way, is that Satan? I don't know. Maybe if NASA didn't land a T there in the can, it would be NASA. Are they telling you the same things about a sand landing and things that didn't happen? And why the cable is literally now just celluloid film, and where we cut it, it's like, phew, they dismantled. Because see, the caduceus lets the gold that concentrated nucleotize in the center. And this is what we've been planting here and what I've been explaining to you. And why it takes a certain view on the house of 11 and what we can do with our Jupiter powers when Lilith is present always, on one specific degree only for this, and what that put a pin in it means. And so, rosebush, many buds but no flowers, remaining inside while feeling urgently, outwardly called. You stay put and hold steady in the face of immense pressures and demands. The greater the onslaught, the more adamant the determination to stick to your own lights, knowing inside that you cannot spread around what you bear. For you are seeking to regenerate the earth. And every social sphere speaks a different language from the earth's inner call. Hence the Tower of Babel and the fall. It is not possible to tune out what lives within. You must abide with fierce integrity in the center of things that never stop no matter what. And that's why this has been written with an in perpetuity clause on the insurance, and where the ants that wanted to get taller might have gotten sick of themselves and shed before they got wrapped in the plans. For you are giving a legacy to the future, and it has nothing to do with momentary events and trends. You are working for what lasts, and everything else seems dim, peripheral, and purely customary. And so, what was funny is when I was actually looking in the compost to see what happened, it was like a bunch of bugs that tried to invade my house to do this moon landing, to prove that they both moon landed, and might have rammed a speculum up the wrong guy's ass. You know, for some Martian, we're gonna scoop out your insides and send a rover. Might look like when they actually land like dead roaches and cockroaches and stuff that all jumped into my compost. And it's so funny because this has been the detonation plans, and basically what we've been wiping out so that they can't get in anything else, and how far some of these things actually dematerialize themselves. They literally tried to invade my house as like, and it must have happened last night because this wasn't there before. There were probably 20 or 30 of them, and at first I was like, are these like buds? I thought they were like buds, like flower buds, and that they were suddenly inside my compost, and it was all like roaches, and they were just like on their sides, and I'm like, wow. So what we manifest and how we do things, especially if people were claiming law of attraction when we were in the chaos model that was spinning around and things were literally just being frozen together, and it was fractal chaos, and they're like, it's the earth. No, it was the Big Bang and being stuck together by magnetic shields and resonances and chaos that's now been sorted out. And so some of those things, it's literally like a machine falling apart that wasn't holding itself together very well to begin with. It was like a bunch of termites, every man for himself, suddenly trying to hold hands, you know? So now we have this instead, where we understand it, and the shaker works great. And where it left us, and this is great for those of you that are following the story and that are have been with me on how the duo has been working with Fortnite, you know that my DARPA duo partner is actually Regina Dugan, and that she's been dealing with some things on her side of this as her passion project that I've been double blind. I have no idea. I've had to do this on this side while she's been helping me with that side so we could even prove how this works. Because it had to be intentional, it had to be loving, it had to be proof of what energetic biochemistry does when people set an intention model to be the right kind of defending. We'll put it that way. And so she's been working with very sophisticated technology for a while now, one of which I can't even think about because I stayed away from this project, but I know it's something to do with how the hummingbirds even showed up present in the nanobot descriptor. You'll see it if you look in my PS below. I explain the Darklands plasma particle resistance theory that I've been walking through and proving here at 0 Point with you all, and the insurance clause. And while she explains the beast technology in real time, because this is constantly happening, it's been like a pepper spray. Just going around for the roundup, we've been extracting things with sounds like this and with ASMR, and one of the prompts that actually comes up is about the hummingbird. And so it's literally what pulled us together and where some of these folds are that we can see. And the one that I'm telling you about is precisely this one here at 18 degrees, where we have this quincunx to Pluto. And so I've been explaining to you guys where we actually are creating these sound origami twists where it's like, okay, now we know where everybody is in here. We've been unleavened, and this is where one of these folds comes together, where when we open it up again on the right degree tomorrow, all the elements are in the right place, where the caduceus is pepper shaking it to those of us inside of the containment unit in the inner state. You see? So this is wonderful. So as I've been reading this to you, as I've been doing this, it's already been infused, and that's why there was no port. We needed to get everything absolutely balanced, and this is why I was explaining to you the 22nd to the 22 degree moon is where we prove where that eccentricity landing pattern was for our recent exploration together, and why now we have a really successful way to claim what the Trump looks like in ET clothes when you take the jacket off, and what die on ice means when you look it in the eye, and maybe all you had to share was something off of the vine like a grape or a drink of wine. Leo 19, a hummingbird feeding at a trumpet vine. Heightened perception, exquisitely poised, brilliantly and as fast as can be. You have the genius of seeing things, knowing things, and being there, overflowing with destiny bounty earned over lifetimes. Yet you bring all this through with a fine-tuned ability to land in the situation at hand, with only as much as can be worked with. You are guided to follow an extraordinary course through the world, which features the perfect opportunities to tap what is inside in so many different ways. The blessings, the grace, the heart's wonder are super full. As this way of being ripens and matures, it becomes even better. Then you begin to draw out from others the same kinds of marvels and wonders, and to make it possible for the vibrances to spread and grow. With a wildfire capacity to spread good news and bring affirmative realizations wherever they are needed, in generous profusion, you work with ever more effortless capacity to bring this world alive. And so, capacity, you mean like how we would capstone a city, like see, I thank you, and where Dark City doesn't get to take away what DARPA and Intuitive Jacob and Regina Dugan and some of my other duo partners like Sky and ASMR Darling knew when they started doing these live streams and protecting it with how safe they would make it for children and the types of energy intentions they had. Even if it made them an immediate like lint trap for people that would come around and try to stick their hands in there in different ways. And so I want you to see something really cool here. Some of you all might have actually seen this film before. This is pretty short. Put this here so you can see it. Alright. Just need to rewind it. Okay, and you'll be able to see that there. So Dark City. This is about 2 minutes of this trailer. This is kind of, I'll turn this down a little bit. This is kind of like what the other side of the Matrix might have looked like for those of you that had seen that, where the beings, or I won't say tech support because these aren't really tech support, but they were supporting themselves here, the Trojans, the virus in the computer, the dis-ease, the unaware organic parasite that jumped into forms around you, might have come through the celluloid plasma and plastic and jumped into cables, and we saw it being fed to us in reverse because of how it had been naturalized. And some of us have been in a state of confusion, almost like catatonic states is the way it's being explained to me, where these beings were moving pixels behind us and recreating what the cities look like. And so that's what virtual reality creations might be like when we've literally exited the simulation and jumped into one where the hyperfusion was still ripe, where the plasma remnants that had toxicity from whatever got crossfired on itself might have also taken on another shape and form and bibbity booped in front of you and acted like a friend of yours, and why the ring might look like this too. And so there's different ways you can see this, but we are now in a different kind of arc where we've also been particle rematerialized. Everything has been dematerialized and reorganized, and that's part of what I've been proving with some of these things, and a really specific work that I've been doing that I've been explaining to you all here and there. But yesterday, Yeastar, there was an energetic data dump that we were doing during the opportunity period of the last quarter of the moon. It's literally us letting them just have their slam dunk. So, you know, you want to go ahead and pull those tactics, it's great. They have a nice big wrap up. Everything was energetically wrapped up and sealed, and the Akashic Records are real. They're good. There's actually 2 reels, and I'm going to remember to link that song below too for you. Interstate created a really good song, and if you hear tapping, again, like I told you, some of these here painting my house. So we are absolutely getting to the bottom of the things that we also mentioned yesterday. These ephemerides are hilarious. You know, they'll talk to you on tomorrow, where they were pepper shaked away, because calendars are funny like this. If you look at a calendar and you see that the day of the fall, Monday the 23rd, was actually also Monday the 16th, because Monday is really one day. It's one day, you know. It might have a little less in it from the last one, and a little other stuff from whatever is being blasted in the cosmic chopper. It's like a salad shooter of dots and formations that land on us, you know. Well, that was the same day that we were receiving the mini infusions, the 16th, where it was like the 3rd Aries moon. And so it was like taking things micro mini size when we did the doll expansion, and where the sleepwalkers never got in. And so basically everything got cut, the data dump, and proved what happened on the same day, you know, where some took the fall and didn't do the little micro minis, because that's what actually Monday the 23rd was. It was proof of the fall and the belief systems and make like a tree and some other stuff that we don't actually do to trees here. But the data dump was for all of that, because all of these things got collected. And so you see on Tuesday, when we were explaining what the 24-degree Aries moon was about amongst the sleepwalkers that would inseminate themselves and prove what that Trump ET might look like with the jacket off in a hermetic vial, we figured out what it is to be stacked like Russian dolls. And those things actually got cut. And so some of you all, thank you for being a part of my small community. I love you, Solidarity. You've been an extremely critical astrological torture trap as far as I can see, because it's like people proving where all your dots are if you're like being sucked for the energy by this gravity magnet where it just like keeps you pinned up like this. And it's like, you know, those rides at the carnival where it spins around and you get stuck to the wall but you can kind of stand up. It's kind of like that. It like throws you back and it like just lets particles blast away at you. It's the Big Bang. It's like Big Bang blowing you away. And so we don't have that happening anymore. Some of us moved out of the way and we're like, okay, we know it works. Okay, can we have those things over here and like nobody gets shot, you know? And so it's like how to not get destroyed and why today I'm speaking to you as Saturn Direct and talking to you about what happened in my compost on the markings of the moon that prove what never happened either. And why any of you all want to know what actually happened at Area 51, if you're sitting here talking to me, it's going to be as boring as whatever happened at your house, and even better knowing what never happened at your house, because now the lie, you know, a lie in, or was it the lien on the home that proved that you were all pretty much sore renters in a place that was treating you like hell, you know, taxed like that for the stake. It's coming to an end, you know. That's the shit that goes away. That's what we don't do. That's what doesn't happen here. That's why I started calling hoax. And why it had to happen on my Saturn and on my moon. And why these hummingbirds feeding at a trumpet vine might know something about what happens if you take a box of these cards, any cards, and you get rid of the jacket somewhere and it gets blown to smithereens somewhere. Whatever it was wrapped around its tentacles, everything has been like that. And so like even where you discard skin, you shed data that's been integrated. And so now, with the help of magnets and what little things know about what hummingbirds do, we're actually being infused differently, because there's a black pearl that's been hidden in an oyster. And it's the one that might be like the black lens in my eye and in yours that speak the same language of the Elohim, the I'm a hole, or it's the I am hole where we instant message each other and nobody else knows, and it's the same communication from my blood and yours, and the black thing where Black Lives Matter, we see each other and we could be infused because we were inside of the pearl holding. You know how pearls work? It's very special. It's a very special kind of Kundalini process on this to keep us protected, because a holly bush covered with berries, it is in the snow. It didn't go that way for us to understand about babies that get sold down the river and never know anything other than being cooked alive and being fed to an alligator who was looking for dinner. We're going to come back to some of these because there's an old man that wants to cut off some mistletoe from an oak tree with a golden knife, and a sunrise over Stonehenge, and some other things that would be happening here to explain what it is that would lead us to the place where a two-headed half or a two-headed calf might be one and the same thing, depending on the timing and the latency and where somebody heard it, and where there's a certain kind of dyslexia that I'm going to have, perflexia, I think is what I'm hearing, where it's like people hearing a separation in sound. It's almost like seeing it, like dyslexia. And what happens in the place where we come alive and realize that with no latency in sound, we actually witness the full spectrum of how a spoken word or sound creates everything in this illumination, regardless of what it sounds like. But because of what it sounds like, it might take on different aspects depending on where it lands, where we get to be very creative and loving. And so I'm going to put a pin in that one for the Kedusha's sake. And we're going to go ahead and look at some cards here. I hear there are some Sibilas wanting to speak up for some of you all, especially if you have been making that move, because this actually showed up yesterday. Alla Grezza al Cuore showing up again right now. This is the Happiness of the Heart card. And this card right here is somebody that's leaving one thing for another. Yesterday I was hearing about somebody wanting to take dance lessons, and in another situation it was about just the changing of hands. Sometimes it's in partnerships. Sometimes that is somebody being given away in marriage by like brother, uncle, somebody like that. But I'm hearing for somebody else it might actually be continuation of a story of a relationship that had ended before, and they're talking to me about somebody's red door. So I don't know if that's like, it's like some Elizabeth Arden fragrance, or if this is like some other kind of red door, but I heard very distinctly someone's red door. You'll know if it's yours. And I'm going to go ahead and get us ready for a song, because do we have Archangel Gabriel? Hey, we're ready. Okay, so I think we've got that. Yeah, we're ready. Can we get a song? What do we need to know about on today? I'm hearing whoever said that he went missing was lying, and it's because of whatever his sister was trying to prove. I don't know what that means, but I'm hearing for somebody that's like somebody's message here. So maybe that's for you on the private Halo confirmation. Okay. So yeah, something that on into this family situations is what I'm hearing. All right, especially if it had to deal with the house, and they're saying for that person, that's absolutely. I'll pull these cards for you. Yeah, friend getting that out of the way is what I'm hearing. And so Speedy, so it's like eating humble pie when you've waited such a long time just to reach out and say hi, is what I'm hearing. Whoever that is. And somebody that waited a long time, it's like, I don't know. I'm hearing that if you waited a really long time to reach out to somebody and you feel like you're hurting or something, it's good to know too that sometimes I'm hearing it like cursed energy is what I keep hearing. Cursed energy, and how they were saying that it's like for some of you might relate to this, especially if it had to do with a house situation. I'm hearing like how somebody was inheriting their house or like their estate, that it's like whatever energy people might sow into that, like literally sow into it, where it's like, you know, just all they talk about all the time, or like what they were doing while they were paying that mortgage, or what they were doing while they were making those plans. It's like the energy that went into these things, and that sometimes it's like creating curses because of how these things are spoken. And I'm hearing for some of you, or for somebody specifically, that it's like, it's almost like while that relative was still alive, is what I'm hearing, that it's like you couldn't say certain things because it was almost like it would attach bad revelations, is what I'm hearing. Like bad things would just start happening because your intention was so different from that person's intention. But if you were both in that same house, and that house was founded that way, and that was like the foundation, it's like a vortex just pulling in that energy. And so I'm hearing for somebody, it's like, I don't know, it's like, this might sound silly to somebody, but it's like, you know, I waited this long and I knew that if I talked to you sooner, it would be like cursing us. is what I'm hearing for somebody. And so it's good for somebody to know you're not cursed anymore. And if somebody has you living like that, I'm hearing it was like living in prison, and I'm hearing that that's what that's for. I'm hearing for somebody else, we've been seeing this prison card showing up a lot, because I'm hearing for somebody it's like, especially if this has anything to do with like the father figure, or like the respect of this man, or like the dignity of his home, or something like that. I'm hearing somebody really, they're saying they're like watching them, and it's like you might be accusing or getting some help about how somebody is accused for taking advantage of the situation. And so I'm hearing it's like a certain kind of observation, especially if somebody, was trying to take something the minute somebody dies. Look, these cards are just jumping up everywhere. So I'm hearing it's like, don't act like you're more helpful than you are, because people can see, people have been talking. Somebody's going to be relieved to know that that's not going to happen, because people have been talking. So I'm hearing it's like you might have some support because of how it's been observed around you. And so, yeah. Hopefully that was helpful. All right. Well, let's see if we can find a song now. We need a love song, and how about a little smudge too? Smudge works great. All right. Out of Love musical cards. All right, here we go. What do we got? Drops of Jupiter by Train. Yeah. So this is definitely somebody coming back for some of you. So let's stop here. Okay. So, since the return, Eladro. So I'm hearing it's like, is this the person that got away? Is it the love that got away, or is this about the one she took off with, or the one that was there? Because I'm hearing for somebody, it's like, it's just some crappy ex-boyfriend that was like cheating over and over and over again is what I'm hearing about. And why somebody couldn't admit what was really going on. And there's the friend again there with the chair there. And I'm hearing for somebody, it's like keeping a distance when you know that you had the wrong man around you. And like where people like kind of suffered themselves wrong, because it's like they kept some asshole around, and it was like just keeping somebody at bay just for the right time. And it's like, you traced your way through all that, and you know, now you want your way back. And you're hearing for somebody, it's like, it's what your grandma might have warned you about with that one, because La Vecchia Signora, that's a grandma there for somebody. For others, that could be like a mom or a friend. It doesn't have to be an older lady, but a lot of times it's an older lady. And I'm here, it's like whatever she said when she sat you down in that chair that you might have pushed in the way is probably coming back really strong right now. If she talked to you about that man right there that you're hearing about right there in the song, and what it is to be swept away by someone before you have a chance to meet them, and where you don't like to take the wrong step just in case. And so Giovine Fanciulla shows up a lot of times because she didn't know what to say, and sometimes she just had to look away, and other times she had to cover herself up because it's a certain kind of chaste, you know, and a certain kind of chaste too that people are on. And especially if you've got someone that's been chasing all around like this, Eladra, that's a thief. And what I see right underneath that is Lenemica, and that one right there, your best friend, might be two-faced and sticking you in the back with the shiny thing. It's like hearing about like how people might have been set up for things that were really complicated because of secret feelings that somebody mutually involved might have had and didn't want to say either. So I'm hearing drama for some of you, and it's like, what can you do in that situation? I'm hearing for somebody it's like a weird mother-daughter situation where a mom is really competitive with the daughter for some reason, and it's like she thinks she's like a lot hotter than she is or something, and like wanted to come on to the daughter's boyfriend or something. And I'm hearing like, if you find out something weird about a mom and your boyfriend or somebody's brother, it's like bad news bears everywhere. And that for those of you that just kept it quiet and were like trying to wait for the right time to speak and making sure you didn't have anything that you were trying to hide but that you couldn't say because it was a protective situation, and everybody's family might be kind of weird, you know? There's like weird things going on with different people's families, and it's like choosing your moments. And I'm hearing for some of you all, it's like it's gonna work out great just because you actually were a friend keeping a safe distance. And I'm hearing for somebody else though, it's like it's real lonely realizing that you might have turned yourself into both of these characters if you were enabling somebody shitty to keep on coming back and, you know, keeping good people at bay in your life, and maybe kind of like lying to them, being two-faced just because you kept making room for little sneaky tippy toes to creep in and be a monster, you know? And so it's different things going on, but I'm hearing all in all, this is about love. These are about things coming to the surface, and these are about grievances that maybe were already ended, because this card has been coming up recently. It did come up earlier, and I wasn't gonna leave on that card. I was looking at this one. This is where we had actually left off, and it's what happened after the grief has been exposed, realized. You know, grief doesn't always just go away forever. Sometimes you have grief and then you have grief again, you know, and it's just like, you know, it comes and it goes. But once you give yourself the opportunity to work your way through it, it doesn't always feel like that. You might find yourself in a state like this. And so I'm hearing for some of you all, it's like what you had to go through to realize what might not have been worth doing in the first place, especially if you were the recipient end of things that people would do because they felt like they had an upper hand or were lucky. And now if you find yourself in a situation where your upper hand is there and you are lucky, it's kind of like almost like bittersweet for some people, because it's like realizing what you never would have done to put yourself in that position, and where sometimes, you know, it might be a different kind of tears that we experience. Because I'm hearing for some of y'all, I just described somebody very special to you that might not be physically there anymore. It might be your mom. It might be, you know, the love of your life. It could be somebody that gave you really good advice and something that they might have said to you when they sat down in that chair that day. So hopefully that's helpful, my loves. I love you so much. I hope that you're all good. I know that it's a weird time right now. I'm waiting for certain communications too to see what happened with the rest of this, because we've been landing very strategically around dangerous things that weaponize themselves into bodies, and soon there will be a lot less of us that exist, and it's going to be a big hallelujah. So I love you. If I can do a reading for you, feel free to hit me up. My information's up above and below, and if not, I'll catch you again when we're back for another one. Bye for now. Promise that you'll catch me.